Hello and welcome to the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast. This is episode 13, I believe.
Good day.
Yep.
It's just as unnecessary as all the others.
Yep, so you heard two voices there, so for the first time ever on the podcast we've got three people.
Yeah, to celebrate
Three people.
episode 13. 10.
I think it can only go downhill from now on.
So I'm Chris, we've got Pawel here, who was supposed to be filling in for Euan, who is actually here.
I'm here, I turned up. I could be arsed, you know.
I'm still filling in for him.
Yeah, I think I need a period to adjust and try and remember what a podcast is.
Well, you've been away on holiday, Euan, so...
Yeah, they don't have podcasts in Brazil.
It's good that Pawel's here, because you've not been playing games, you've just been drunk.
Yeah.
For a good 2.5 weeks solid.
Consuming various types of cured beef.
Cured beef? I thought you're not eating some goat at some point.
I ate some goat as well, yeah. But they also have a lot of different types of cured beef. You've got beef that's been left out in the sun for a bit.
Yep.
Beef that's been left out in the sun for a bit longer.
Yep.
Beef that's been left in some salt. Beef in the sun.
In the sun, yeah.
Beef that's been left out for ages in the sun.
Right.
And beef that's just been shown the sun for a bit and brought back inside.
Well, that's a massive variation in beef.
Yeah,
there.
you wouldn't think you would really need to do that, but for them it's important to have these distinctions.
Well, that's good. So you've enjoyed your holiday then?
I have, yes.
Your very beefy holiday.
Yeah. I now have Zika.
What are your feelings on beef, Pawel?
They might be similar, but with less variety.
Right. You're a very boring man when it comes to beef.
Yes, it's just the more the better. Quality doesn't matter.
All about the beef.
Bring it on.
All about the beef basics.
So you don't care if it's even dead yet?
No, I'm a human trash bin, man. I just eat stuff.
I would agree with that statement. Right, well, this isn't a podcast about beef. This is a podcast about gaming.
Although we might just make a spin-off the other day.
Yeah. Well, at the rate that we're going we're going to have so many spin-off podcasts. We're going to have a podcast about the people that Euan's gay for.
Oh, yeah.
What was the one we came up with last episode?
Yeah. Are you asking me about...
Sorry, I shouldn't ask you to remember anything that happened 2 weeks ago.
No, I mean, 3 days worth of memory is all I have.
That's alright, I can't remember
I think
either.
Our listeners probably have difficulty remembering what happened in that podcast.
I think the people that listen to this are much better at remembering what happens than we are.
They do tend to make comments and you think, what are
you on
actually
about?
Listen to this?
Right, well, please take notes for us.
Yeah, and send them in, because we've not got any clue. We don't listen to these things after we're done with them. No, we just push them out into the ether.
I don't know about the others, but my voice just sucks. I can't listen to that.
Aye, me neither. Right, well, let's get started. We're going to start with video games again this time, because it's the game on everybody's lips, Pawel, and you've been playing it.
It's a game on my lips, definitely.
Right. What is it?
It's Xcom 2.
Of course it is.
Yay!
It's so Xcom 2. It's a Firaxis Games game published by 2K Games, and distributed by Take-Two Interactive.
That's brilliant, Chris. Thank you very much. Are you
see
sure,
that? You see that research, man? You see that research?
Are you sure you're actually pronouncing Firaxis correctly?
Yes.
Firaxis.
How do you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Firaxis.
I just thought that it's some sort of yeah.
What would the Firaxis look like?
I don't know.
I think maths would have been much more interesting.
I don't think mathematicians would like to see a fiery axis. I think they want it straight and clean. Probably an icy one would be like a very burnished kind of icy one that was nice and kind of smooth.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. There we go.
So you think that mathematicians are all ice wizards?
Yeah.
Right.
They are, basically.
They're ice wizards.
They are the ice wizards.
Right. Cool. So, Pawel, XCOM 2, now we've established stuff about ice wizards.
Yes, now that we know who actually developed the game, the game itself is nothing about wizards, although there's plenty of psionics in it. Psionics?
Yes.
Psychics?
Psionics.
Telepathy and all sorts of shebang like that. Have you guys played XCOM 1?
Yes.
Yes, I've played that.
Yes, okay.
Aye.
So you're
Brilliant.
familiar with Central. Yes, Central Bradford he was called. Pretty much the dude in the...
Central Bradford.
Bradford is his surname, yes?
Have you been playing the Polish version?
Ah, crap. No. You get three main sort of characters through the story of XCOM, yeah? There's Dr. Valen, who's the chief research officer. There is Dr. Shen, who's the engineer dude. And you get the military dude.
Is that his name?
The military dude is Central Officer Bradford.
Because
right.
he was
I thought
kind
maybe-
of underutilised, I found, in that game.
See, I thought you meant his first name was Central.
It sort of feels like in this game, honestly. Because
That's completely passed me by that was his name. Sorry.
everybody refers to these characters by their surnames, fair enough, but to him, everybody just says Central, yeah?
Right.
They just address him as Central, and sometimes if they say Central
Oh,
Bradford,
yeah,
you just
right.
get
I do remember that, aye.
Well, most of the tension in the first game seemed to revolve around Dr. Shen and the lady scientist.
Yeah.
Because he really didn't take to her at all.
But, yeah, well, there was a bit of tension. And
definitely.
then all of these three people would keep speaking to you as well. You were the commander, yes? The game would pretty much make you feel very competent.
Yeah.
You're actually in charge. You're not just the player, you're the commander. I like it that way, yeah? I have a ringtone in my phone that pretty much tells me that the message has come, Commander. It actually...
Yeah. Aye, I've heard that.
Yeah, it's from Mass
so,
Effect. It really works well.
But, I mean, you say his name's what, sorry?
Central
Bradford.
Bradford. Yeah.
That's a place in Yorkshire.
Central Bradford.
Central Bradford is like that's obviously the centre of Bradford.
You've got to come off the ring road.
You've got
Some sort of railway station or something. Right, well, here is the thing. In the first game, these guys would mostly serve as tutorials. Whereas in the second game, they do seem to be much more utilised. There's more story in the second game, and all of them have either lived... The game takes place 20 years later.
Yep.
And you get to know what's happened to them. Although I've not played the entire game yet, so I can't say exactly I know what's happened to all three of them. But without sharing any spoilers, I'll just say that they've taken the story and the plot lines from the first game, and they've actually built upon them pretty well.
Okay.
But once you get to meet Central in the cutscenes in actual action, he's not just a tutorial guy anymore. He's actually a sort of hero or type of person. You develop certain attachment to
He's
the
a
guy.
bit of a legend.
Yeah, and you can feel it. But also, what happens is you actually, you as the commander, these dudes talk to, you're actually in the game as well. The first tutorial mission is pretty much about saving you from the aliens.
All right, cool.
Okay.
So they pretty much rescue you, transport you to their secret base, perform whatever medical treatment you need, and again, no spoilers here, in order to revive you, and then start addressing you as the commander. And you actually, you look at these medical procedures from the player's point of view. So again, and you're always this silent protagonist, but you feel like you're in the game as well.
Right, so you're not just this faceless entity that you were in XCOM.
And it's not just you being in that one mission. The commander is part of the aliens' plan as well, and it's all sorts of things like this. Right. You're part of the plotline, definitely.
Is just out of curiosity, is the idea that the planet's been occupied, is that meant to have followed directly on from
20 years after after XCOM 1, Fire Access people have assumed that they've lost that game because it was too hard.
So it is assuming that the canon ending is.
And also, humans are sheep enough to accept a conqueror like this.
Okay.
So you get aliens coming to Earth eventually, and after initial skirmishes, everybody decides, it's actually nice to be conquered. Just like that race of aliens in, what's it called?
In Cosmic Encounter.
Yes. It's really cool because obviously aliens are bringing with them exceptional medical advancements and whatever you name it. So let's have peace and be governed by them. You got the organization called Advent. And that's that. Plenty of Advent peacekeepers everywhere, and everybody thinks everything's quite okay.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously you're the resistant dude that's just disgruntled, and you just keep
fighting.
Well, yes. Obviously,
Never say die.
that I suppose that's what you cannot say.
I'll
Yes.
never work for no commie.
Those commie aliens.
Those goddamn
You know what?
pinko rusty aliens.
It sort of feels this way when you play XCOM 2, because there is a lot of cutscenes, a lot of art in the game that has this Cold War aesthetics to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them are actually pretty creepy. When you get your loading screen, it's not really anymore any. I would say just. I can't even remember what was it in XCOM 1, but in XCOM 2 you get alien propaganda posters with this psychedelic sort of sound that just bores its way into your brain, and that's every loading screen. So after some point, just looking at it, you become a little bit. You actually start believing in the fight and the resistance, because Advent is actually trying to convince you that they are the governing race, right?
So it sounds like a pretty cool setup for the story, actually. Because I did wonder what they were going to do with it, especially after we saw the trailer, didn't we? And we were like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
Yeah. It was an interesting setup, and it's the way they've taken what in XCOM is a fairly lightweight narrative and actually worked with that.
Yeah.
Organically turned it into something.
Exactly. It was fairly basic in one. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was fairly basic when the whole thing started in whatever 1994, I think it was.
Yeah.
With XCOM, sorry, with UFO, something, UFO Enemy Unknown. I should have said that my favourite from those times was The Terror from the Deep, 1995, the sequel. I love that one.
I think that's the most well-known one, is it not, from the sort of previous
Possibly.
games?
Anything that has a subtitle Terror from the Deep is a win to me. But all these games were always about just sort of humans kicking alien butt, which is what Will Smith does. And, if you want to take it further and actually...
Whoa, go back.
Well,
Are you telling me this is Independence Day, the game?
No, I'm saying that if your entire world building is based upon a dude kicking alien butts...
Yep.
You've not spent a lot of time at the drawing board preparing a world.
Fair enough.
Whereas
that goes for Independence Day as well.
It's true, right? It's true.
Whereas in XCOM 2, you can actually feel plenty of work has been put into it, especially from the artistic point of view, the way the game's aesthetic are developed, the way humans are being brainwashed into just living their cozy lives and peace, and somewhere there is the nefarious avatar program that nobody knows about, whereas you as the commander are supposed to stop it. Because in the first game, again, things were fairly easily comprehensible, easy to understand. There would be UFOs standing up on Earth. You want to stop them. If you don't buff up your forces in time, the Earth will be conquered. Whereas in this game, there is obviously pressure on you to do things efficiently and fairly fast. But, you've already lost, so what is it that bad that can make you...
Well, on that note, what is the actual gameplay like? I mean, when you're actually in missions, is it kind of similar to the first XCOM?
It's the same. It's the same type of game. So you get your turn-based isometric, team-based cover seeker shooter.
Yeah.
But again, there's been plenty of refinements. I think the biggest change between XCOM 1 and 2 is the concealment thing. In the previous game, you would wander about the map until you stumble upon your first aliens, and then you start fighting, whereas in here you can sort of wander about the map. But when you stumble upon your first aliens, they don't automatically discover you. You can prepare an ambush and sort of start fighting when you're ready for it. And there are certain classes in the game that can benefit from this concealment mechanic further, which is the Ranger class. Soldier classes have been again revamped and further specialized, I suppose. They were fairly well done in XCOM 1. You could feel the differences. Some of them had their strengths, some of them were fairly basic in this game. Again, because they've taken the basic concept and just made it better, in my opinion. You will see that that similar types of similar classes, same classes have been made better. So your heavy gunner is not just like, let's deliver DPS and potentially have heavier armor, because it's not just rockets now. It's all sorts of different grenades that will have really varied effects in the battlefield.
Okay.
And I'm surprisingly, once you fire an acid grenade that eats through armor, eventually eats through a roof, collapses a floor, and keeps eating through another floor, and things like this, it just creates environment hazards and the like.
So I mean, I've heard that this game has got a much more you're more up against the clock in a mission than you were in the first XCOM, so you can't just spend your time wandering about.
There are missions that aren't timed, although even sometimes you can think that they're not timed, and then half the mission, things change, and suddenly you're really against the clock. There's almost always a timed extraction, so you have to reach whatever goal you have, and then reach your destination. Sometimes you can even create your own exit point and summon extraction elsewhere. If you're not fast enough, there will be reinforcements summoned to the map as well.
Right.
There's plenty of variety going on. Some missions eventually will become repetitive in a way, as in they won't surprise you as much as they originally would anymore, but there is lots of variety. Even types of missions will vary a lot.
Okay. Cool.
Avat program is what you're trying to stop. No idea what that is yet, apart from the fact that it's clearly not good for humans.
Okay. Well, let's not spoil it, though.
It's not good for humans, that project. Every time you're not fast enough, aliens somewhere in their facilities develop their own advancements, and you can see on the status bar of the Avatar project that it's progressing. You have to try and foil it. Sometimes you'll be given access to difficult missions with, I suppose, pre-scripted goals, which, if you manage to succeed in, will either stop or even reverse the progress track of the Aliens project.
Oh, that's cool.
So you at least know whether you're doing well or not on the map. You don't send satellites in the orbit anymore in order to sort of protect territories, because you don't even protect territories anymore. There's only a bunch of you guys in a stolen alien craft that's serving as your base.
Excellent.
So instead, you develop communication sort of range. Just get in touch with local resistance and guerrilla bands and get supplies from them on a monthly basis.
The sort of things that happen between missions, like in XCOM, the first game, you were researching stuff, or you were using your engineering department to create weapons and things like that. What's that like in XCOM 2?
Researching hasn't really changed that much.
It's
changed a little bit.
And you're still using all your alien fragments and stuff like that too.
Engineers changed a bit. I mean, both researchers and engineers are not just numbers anymore. They are actually named characters. They don't really have traits as such, no attributes. If they do, they wouldn't really differ much. As far as I can tell so far, researchers are still really just a number, as in the more researchers you have, the faster things go. But engineers have changed quite drastically, because right now your base, which is the Avenger stolen alien craft, you still excavate. Because it's just ruined whatever alien mothership, whatever that was. You have to go through all their junk. But once you can actually build your modules in it, you can then field them with engineers. So to excavate, you're using a single engineer. On some floors, you'll be needing more than one. If you just use one, it takes longer. Once you build a module, it may just work on its own, or it may require an engineer. It may require a second engineer assigned to that module in order for it to perform any special functions and things like this. So placement of engineers on your map is actually quite crucial to the management of your base, and that's definitely the biggest change I can see in base management as such.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'm gonna say. It's a lot of tiny little things that could have, that were all right in the first game, and then in the series game have just been taken a step further.
Yeah.
If your support class in the first game was barely useful at all, really.
Yeah,
it was just one of these soldiers that really hasn't developed into something better. Whereas in the second game, it's one of the best classes ever because it hacks into anything with the whatever portable droid type of thing. And hacking this is nearly, I'm going to say nearly because it's still mostly just a dice roll, but it's almost a minigame on its own, because you can choose what you want to try to attempt, and depending on whether it's going to be more or less difficult, you can get various buffs and other rewards for it. You can obviously, and it's not only about disabling or taking over robotic enemies. There's plenty of hacking in this game, plenty of trying to learn the obviously aliency agenda and counter that.
I always found in the original game, actually, I think we probably made more use of the support class than I always found the heavy class to actually be the least useful.
I was the same. I found the support class to actually be more useful than you're implying.
If you use them,
the heavy class could be just useless sometimes.
Well, I never really took that, because the problem with the heavy class is, you'd have maybe a big machine gun or something like that, which wasn't that great.
It wasn't very accurate.
And the explosives I just didn't want to use, because I'd end up destroying maybe a ship or something like that. Potentially, like.
Well, that's the thing.
Salvage.
In this game, you're not penalised that much for destroying stuff, and because it's not just a rocket that blows shit up. It's 6-7 different types of grenades that you can research and start using. You can do a lot of stuff, but it's not just that class. Every class has been taken further, apart from maybe Sniper, which is still the old boring.
Sniper's just the best one, isn't it?
Also, what I remember is that you could pretty much do with 4 assault guys and 2 snipers what you could do with any other.
Well, in this game, you might just find that using the Ranger class will give you almost instant wins, because your melee attacks, which is what the assault class has. The assault class from XCOM 1 became Ranger class in this game. If you specialize in just hacking and slashing, your Ranger can pretty much instant kill everybody. And that's a fairly neat thing, but it's also...
In the first game, I always just gave my support class that upgrade that let them take loads of medkits, and then just use them for healing, basically. That was pretty much what I used them for. And then keeping the heavies alive long enough until you find a massive alien for them to shoot with their rocket launchers. Other than that, they were useless.
There you go. I'm sure you'll find...
this is how I played the game.
It's called I think it's called the Specialist now, and they can be really useful in this game now.
Yeah.
But then you get... what else did you get? Sorry. I'm getting lost now. I think that's the 4 classes I've got so far. There's going to be the 5th class, which is Psychic, but I've not even got that far yet, unfortunately. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I know what I was going to mention. Even weapons now you can mod. And plenty of different mods that you can attach to weapons give you, again, more varied builds to your characters.
So what you're saying, Pawel, is that this is a bloody good game.
It's XCOM 1, which was a solid game, made so much better. Even tiny things like character, soldier design, so many more details. You put them in your Sky Ranger and drop them, send them to a mission, and you can see them sitting in dropship's cabin, all tense and ready for the fight, and then when they're coming back from a successful mission, they're sitting in that again, because it's a load screen, yeah? But they all, relaxed and smug and smiling. Even tiny little bits like this definitely just give it personality.
Yeah. Alright, cool. So that's... well, do you want to give it a rating, Pawel?
Oh, God, yes. I want to give it 490 yuans out of 500.
Oh, you're obsessed with Euan.
No, it's just the Chinese currency.
Of course.
He used his rating in the last episode, Euan. He was missing you that much that he kept on rating everything.
It's nice to see I'm immortalised in a rating system.
Aye. I don't think we'll keep that going.
Ah.
Right, so that's XCOM 2. Now, controversially, it's not available on consoles. So it's Windows, OS X and Linux only. I don't know if that's going to change.
I believe it is due to be coming out, but I've seen
because I think there'll be a little nerds that are raging about this.
There will be a release for it.
Don't really need a mouse for it. I'm sure that they can come up with an interface for controllers. The one thing that I should have probably mentioned is that there's been reported, but probably not really investigated so far. There's been reported performance issues with XCOM. Some players have been finding it really difficult or really slow to load properly. Sometimes graphics would just be beyond standard, even on high-end machines. I was having problems running it myself, and to be fair, at the moment I'm really just running it on low.
Put some coal into your PC, Pawel. Get it fired up.
Will do. Just need graphic card. Can you please send me a new graphic card? That's all I need. Just slight contribution to the podcast. Thank you very much.
You are unbelievable.
There's a reason why I'm here, man.
I was just going to say that's the sole reason you've come on here. You've played us for fools.
Thank you
You've
very much.
come on here to try and wing yourself a new graphics card.
And maybe
I'm sure that's going to work just well.
A tin of kerosene for the oil burner at the back as well.
Right.
Come on, PC!
So if you want to pick up XCOM 2, it's on Steam. It's $34.99. There's a digital deluxe version which is $47.99, but I have no idea what that involves. What is that all about?
Digital deluxe.
Oh, and it also has Steam controller support.
Peter Stringfellow comes round your house and fondles your balls while you're playing.
Yeah, is that deluxe?
I think he thinks it is.
He clearly does.
So, do you want the deluxe, mate?
On the topic of Steam
he is a
controller,
horrifying man.
Have we reviewed that yet?
The Steam controller?
Yes.
No, because we don't have one.
I was hoping you'd say yes.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
No, I'm just curious whether it's worth it.
No.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. You go and buy a Steam controller and you can sit and you can fiddle with it and tell us what it's like. And maybe we'll get you a graphics card.
I like fiddling with stuff for money.
Nah.
It's a bit venturing in slightly nerdy terms.
Yeah, I mean hardware reviews get a bit dull.
Microphone of the month.
Yeah. No, that has to be a feature. Actually, we're adding that in. Microphone of the month. Right. We'll move
Moving
on. A bit. Yeah, let's move on. So that was XCOM 2. Sounds pretty good actually. The only reason I don't have it yet is because I'm pretty skint, to be honest. So I can't really justify paying 35 quid.
You're not going to fund my graphic card.
Well, that's why I'm skint, man. I'm saving up all my money to buy you a graphics card.
Now we're talking.
Right, well, I want to talk about a game called City Skylines, which I was going to talk about in the last episode before Pawel went on a massive spiel about some random computer games he's been playing.
Go for it. Go.
Right, so City Skylines. It's a city builder game. Have either of you seen this? You see me... Pawel, you've seen me play this.
I've seen you play it, and it looked fairly...
Talking about it as a kind of a successor to SimCity.
Well, not really a successor. I think maybe spiritual successor would be the thing.
Now that the franchise of SimCity is just
pretty much dead. Yeah.
Like,
so EA put out was it 4 or 5? I can't remember which number they got up to.
They've just restarted where SimCity, and then they made it. For some inexplicable reason, always online.
Yeah, always online.
And then all the servers broke instantly.
Yep, and also it just wasn't a great game.
It was shit as well,
Good
on EA.
Some Finnish company came along and hang on, I'm just going to get their name. They're called Colossal Order. They came along and developed this game, City Skylines, which is published by Paradox Interactive. And now, like I say, it's a city builder game. Now, this game... It's a game about roads, to be honest. I mean, they call it a city builder game, but the game involves everything that you build in this game has to be next to a road. So if you're zoning out, if you remember what SimCity was like, the older version of thing, where you could just zone out a massive area and say, this is residential sort of thing. You can't actually do that in City Skylines. You have to put everything next to roads, so you can only zone within a certain space of a road. So you've really got to get your roads in properly in order to, like, build up your city. Yeah. Now, it's got the standard things in it, so it's got like your residential and your commercial and your industrial zones, just like the classic Crystal Maze. SimCity. And you've also, you can put in your police stations and all that sort of thing. But the game's just like, it's so pretty. Like, it's unbelievably good looking, I have to say.
It was very impressive, I must say, yeah.
And, like, when you're building up your city, I mean, it's kind of difficult to describe how you build up your city. You zone out an area for residential or something, and then it automatically just grows if there's residential places needed. Yeah. So you have your little indicator like you do in the classic SimCities game, the RCI indicator, they call it. It tells you whether you need residential, commercial, or industrial things. So you just zone out, and then these things just build up nicely, and it's quite cool in this game because, like, you get the scaffolding just very slowly going up, and then the house just starts to appear behind it, and then the scaffolding comes down, and people just move in, and it's just like this sort of dynamic, just constantly moving city that you're building, where, like, there's actual individuals in it, and they live in a certain house, but they'll be out walking about in the city, and you can click on them, find out where they live, find out where they work. You can follow them around, you can get them to go in a car, and they'll just drive around your streets and go to their work. They're not just driving around randomly, they're actually going places and doing things and stuff like that, and you build up this little sort of bustle, and, like, at the moment I would call it a town. It's like I've hit the 6,500 population mark, which has unlocked some more stuff for me, so I can now make sort of like tower blocks and things like that now. I can zone out residential places for big apartment blocks and things like that now. So so that's 6,500 people. 6,500 people.
All of them with names and
all of them with names, occupations. Yeah,
and
families. They have kids that will go to the schools that you've built, and
does that in any way affect the gameplay?
No.
That's the thing, because
it's amazing. It's incredible.
It's a lot of details, a lot of, I suppose, games engine devoted to that.
Yeah.
For just to please the gamer, but other than that,
but it works. I mean, it's exactly what you want in a game like this. You want to have you don't want just faceless individuals that you're building up stuff for, because then you just feel like, I don't care about these people. But because they've all got their own little names, they've all got a house, they've all got a job, these are citizens of the city that you're building. You actually feel like what you're building is for these people.
Well, again, it's always felt like something that SimCity was building towards.
No.
But then basically had snatched out of its jaws by EA.
Yeah.
My understanding is that in any city builder, what you're really waiting for is natural disasters. Because as much as you care for all these 6,000 people, all you really want is for them to die.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the fun things about SimCity 2, from what I remember. But I played that a lot in my younger years, and one of my favourite things was the UFO attack.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And you could set these off yourself. Just sort of like, I'm getting bored of building this city now, let's cause an earthquake, and then we can deal with it from there.
I'm sure that's exactly the god complex they wanted to invoke in the...
Yeah, and so far in City Skylines, you don't actually have that. Like, I don't know if there are disasters in it, I've not seen them yet. But you do have fires that break out randomly, and you can watch your little fire engines coming out your fire stations and going and dealing with it, which is quite cool. But I mean, there's not actually, like, a lot of stuff in it, but, like, in terms of, like, buildings that you can build and stuff like that, you have to unlock things as you go through the game, like I said. But I mean, you've just got your basic schools and your high school. You can build universities, police stations, you can build cemeteries, you've got to build landfill areas. I'm horribly polluting the water at the moment because
I saw that, Chris. That was filthy.
I've not got enough population yet to actually build a water treatment plant.
Yeah, tell them that. Yeah, I'm sure they'll...
But so at the moment, the area of sea that my city's sitting on is just turning a horrible, murky, beige-brown colour. Oh, and it's spreading further out as each day goes past.
You probably have some quality crustacea, though.
There'll be some nice, warm water fish there.
Do you get a lot of tourists in there?
Yeah, I mean, you do get a lot of tourists. Tourists do turn up, so you do get some random people that just come into your city and they don't live there. They're just, and it says tourist if you click on them, and they'll leave again at some point. But,
Did they go over to your beaches at all?
No. See, I've basically like not built a road to the beach. I'm just like, yeah, let's keep the people away from there. Yeah.
So it's a dirty secret.
But to make up for it, I've made my my cities entirely green. So
oh yeah, there was plenty of green there. I remember. Yeah.
It's just wind turbines as far as the eye can see.
Excellent.
Which is quite nice when you actually zoom into my city, because my wind turbines are actually up on a hill, which is off in the distance away from the city, and they've got this sort of haze effect. So it's like as you're coming into the ground level on your city, looking at it, you can just see the wind turbines turning in the background, but it's kind of slightly blurry and hazy sort of thing. So it's quite cool.
Like you say, a sort of sunset over them.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. It's like I say, it's an absolutely gorgeous game. But I think one of the big things about this game is that like it's the Steam Workshop. You know, this game they've opened it up for modding, which was I think something that EA didn't do with their latest SimCity thing. I think they wanted people to pay for the modding privileges, as far as I remember. I might be wrong about that. So
it's EA. We don't need to. Like,
we can openly demonise them.
There's something they would be arseholes about. They will be arseholes. It's
It's
default
true.
position.
In fact, if we had a single episode just about demonising EA, we would get twice as many listeners. I'm sure.
I think there's plenty of market out there.
should we have an EA episode where we just get torn in about them?
Yeah.
Absolutely. 'Cause that would be a lot.
We could do a spin-off episode where we just get ripped into EA and eat like salted beef.
Yeah,
various kinds of salted beef.
I mean, like I say, so City Skylines, it's heavily moddable, basically, and there are so many mods out there for it. Like, people just building their own little buildings and stuff just to stick into the game, and you can just get all these things. And I personally, I haven't looked into them yet. I've just been getting to grips with the game, really. Like I say, my city's only 6,500 people. I don't know how you can call that a city, actually, but
It's a village.
yeah, basically. But so I'm quite interested in some of the mods. I've not really looked that much into them, but it's one of the big things, the big selling points about City Skylines is how moddable
It's becoming
it is.
a fairly big selling point in general for games.
I think so, yeah.
XCOM 2, actually, you start playing it, first screen you get is, do you want to play or do you actually want to run Workshop first? I've not even clicked on it yet.
I think XCOM 2 was opened up to modders before the game was released, wasn't it?
There you go, yeah.
So like that's how big modding is becoming, yeah. And it's good to see developers sort of just saying, you know what,
Here's the tools.
Yeah, here are the tools. Go for it. You know
that's going to happen in a lot of cases anyway. You know, why not?
Thank you, developers.
And the most successful games, I think, in the last 10 or so years have been quite open about it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the stuff on Steam, you know, Valve allowed it with, you know, Half-Life and everything like that. I mean, the modding for that is ridiculous, and it's, you know, one of the most successful games of all time.
Exactly. Well, anyway, that's all I've got to say about City Skylines at the moment. Mainly because we talked about XCOM for quite some time, so we want to move on. But yeah, City Skylines, check that out. I mean, it's hang on, I'm just looking at.
Please look in the mods and let us know if there's any alien starships attacking your cities.
In City Skylines,
yeah,
I'll check that out in the break, and then I'll get back to you after the break about that. But City Skylines is available on Windows OS X Linux. It's coming out on the Xbox One, apparently, which is quite interesting, but there's not been a date announced for that yet, and I believe it's about £23 in Steam. City Skylines. So yeah, check that out. It's a pretty good game. I'd give it 15 residential zones out of 20.
Most
at the
of
moment,
them not
make sure
bothered by sewage.
Yeah, aye.
Well,
yeah, they're definitely got to be by roads. 15 residential zones out of 18 roads, I think. Yeah, I'm just changing the rating now.
Splendid.
Okay, so that's wrapping up video games for us. We're going to go and take a break, I think. Or I am. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some tabletop gaming, which is now an umbrella term because, Pawel, we might even let you talk about an RPG.
If that's not happening, I'm honestly gonna log into your game and that's down is going down.
That'd be interesting. The Pawel disaster. Right, we'll be back very soon to talk about tabletop gaming.
Awesome.
Okay, we're back. I have looked up City Skylines mods, and there are disaster mods, including one which is called Tsunami Maker, which completely floods your city by the looks of it. It seems quite interesting.
In case of your city, that would be sewage.
Yeah,
tsunami.
you would just flood the city with shit, basically. So that'd be fun.
You'd hope that there's enough deep sea water coming through the tsunami to just kind of dilute out the shit a little bit.
You can just imagine one of those little guys walking through the town and then all of a sudden gets hit in the face with a turd.
I've lived in a city like that.
With a crab sticking out of it.
Plenty of those in Poland.
Was that Warsaw?
Yeah. So how did you call yours then?
What did I call my city?
What's your city called?
What is it called?
Yes.
Yeah, it's called Preston Pans.
Of course it is. Yes, thank you. I should have known that.
It's Preston Pans as it should have been. It's like Gandalf the White.
Saruman, that should have been
Perfectly realised Preston Pans.
Exactly. That's my hometown, by the way.
Well met.
Right. So we're going to talk about some board games first before we might possibly let Pawel talk about an RPG. So first up, let's talk about one of my favourite games.
I shall ignore the comment.
Let's talk about one of my favourite games.
Why not?
Cosmic Encounter.
It's definitely a good game.
Yes. Now this is a fantasy flight game. It's got a whole bunch of designers written on the front, which I'm not going to bother going into. But it's a game which was first popped up in the 70s. It's pretty old, so I don't think that this edition of it...
I popped up in the 70s as well.
Yeah. Have you improved over the years?
I think so.
You think, right.
Have you drastically reinvented yourself?
It's good people do have differing opinions about things. But, so Cosmic Encounter first popped up in the 70s, I believe, and I don't think that this edition of it, the latest editions of it, are actually that similar to what the original was like, but this is a game which, personally, I find is great for, if you've got a lot of people about, because the whole thing about the game is that you're constantly involved in it. You're not sort of sitting waiting for your turn, there's always something that you can be doing. So this is a space game, so kind of loosely a space game.
Yeah.
It's a sci-fi thing, you know.
Various space civilizations.
Yeah.
Encountering each other.
Exactly.
In the cosmos.
Exactly. That's it. So that was Cosmic Encounter, thanks for listening.
Right. It's literally that simple.
So what happens is that everybody gets 5 planets. This is the basic setup of the rules, because actually the game changes depending on certain things, but the basic setup of the rules is that everybody has 5 planets and you have 20 ships, I believe. So 4 ships on each planet. Is that right?
I believe that's right, yeah.
Yep. But what happens is that everybody is given a race. Now, you get a choice of 2 races, I think. You can play around with it if you want. You can give people multiple races and stuff like that. I've seen that done. People playing with 2 races instead of just 1. So 2 race powers. But that just sounds crazy to me. It's hard enough keeping track of 1 race each. But these races really change the game.
Yeah.
So the basic thing about the game is that on your turn, you will turn over a card which tells you which colour you're going to attack, so which player you're going to attack. And then you put some ships into this little... I can't remember what they call it, like this vortex type thing, which is meant to represent you travelling towards a planet that the other player owns. Yeah. And then you can call for help. So both sides can call for help from the other players. So they can get involved, they can throw some ships in. And then you have a hand of cards, you have attack cards, or you can have negotiate cards, that kind of thing. And the attack cards have a value on them. So if you both play attack cards, you just total up the numbers on the attack cards, the numbers of ships that are on both sides. Whoever's got the highest amount wins. And if you were attacking, you take over that planet, you get a point for it. If you get to 5 points, you win the game. So you can have multiple people getting points in one turn, because if the attacker had asked for alliances and got some friends to help him and won, all of those people go onto the planet, so they all get points. Yeah. That's the basics of the game there. But
I think that's the beauty of the game.
It's the beauty of the game is that it's actually pretty simple. But the alien race powers change everything. So,
cards change everything, alliances change everything.
This is one of those constantly games evolving this game, and it's different every time you play it, depending on the race powers. So, you've got things like, the first one I've picked up here is the Barbarian. So, you have the power to loot and pillage, which sounds like fun.
I think I have that power.
Did you have the barbarian?
No, I have that power in
you had the
life.
humans, didn't you? You had the humans. So basically, like, you can loot your opponent's cards if you're the barbarian. You can just basically take some cards out of his hand.
I felt like this during the game, I must say.
Let's see.
And then you did that to me with that plague card.
The plague card, yes. The plague card is extremely powerful. There are a number of different types of cards in this game. I'm not going to go into too much detail about them, but they do...
What we should mention probably, though, is in most board games, you're going to have some sort of identity cards, whether they're characters or factions that represent the player, and there's going to be a choice from between, whatever, 3 or 5 or 7, whether... In this card, how many races do you have in this game?
Well, I've got 2 of the expansions. There are many expansions for this game, and they all add extra aliens. Now, I've got... I don't know. How many do you think is in this stack?
It looks like £3 worth of cards.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards. So there's a lot of alien powers there. I mean, maybe 100 that I've got there, something like that. Maybe more.
So talk about replayability.
Yeah, so there's a lot of replayability.
The variety, the constantly changing game is the appeal of it, really.
You have others like... the fungus was an interesting one in the last game we played.
Brilliant. I think we had proper fun with that fungus race.
So our friend Ian had the fungus race, and basically whenever he got involved in a fight, any ships, if his side won, any ships that were lost from the losing side, he actually took as part of his own thing. So fungus he ended up with just lots of ships that didn't belong to him but were actually his. What you had the humans, Pawel, which were really annoying.
I had humans which had the power of arrogance. I would pretty much just brag about how powerful I was.
Basically,
and then something incredibly realistic happened. I was so annoying that everybody started ignoring me, which is exactly what happens in real life. Humans are being constantly ignored by aliens.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
That's why we never use it, because they're sick of our bragging.
Yeah, that's it. They're just like, I'm not listening to these guys.
So no matter who was being attacked or defeated,
I can get 100 miles.
I would not be asked into the alliance.
So just like some more examples. I can't remember the name of the race that I had, but basically, whenever somebody attacked another player, I think it was the assassin. Yes, basically, I could just destroy a ship that they owned, just instantly kill it. Some other things, the zombie, the power of immortality. So basically, whenever they lose ships, they don't lose them; they get them back straight away. You know,
that's brilliant.
There's so much variety in these alien races that they totally change the rules of the game. So they override the basic rules.
One of your planets into a ship that you can attack
yes. That's insane. There is a race where basically instead of sending ships through the vortex thing, you actually send your entire planet through, and you get bonus points for it. So
it basically crushes anything that's.
And the alien races are graded as well. So you've got green, yellow, and red, and the red ones are like the most complicated and most sort of insane like powers. The yellow ones are sort of like moderate difficulty. The green ones have just made basic changes to the rules, but they're still all pretty effective.
Yeah, I think we've played quite a few with just sticking to the green ones, and there's still a lot of variety.
There's a hell of a lot more green and yellow ones than there are red ones. The red ones are just... I don't think I've even played a game with the red ones yet, because some of them are just crazy. I don't know if I can find one here which is...
Getting your heads around what they actually mean, that these powers, when the descriptions of what they do, sometimes you're just like, how? What? How does this happen?
I mean, there's stuff like, this isn't a red race, I think it's a yellow race, the antimatter, which completely flips everything. So instead of cards adding on to your thing, they subtract.
Yeah.
And, it's bizarre.
I think was it Dave that had a choice and decided against taking this race?
Yeah, decided against the antimatter.
Because you couldn't just wrap your hand around it.
Yeah.
But the biggest strength of this game, apart from variety of races, is how much scheming and backstabbing there is in it.
Very loose alliances are being formed, but... I mean, one of the other things is that you can just form an alliance with somebody straight through the game, because it's possible to win the game, for multiple people to win the game. Mm-hmm. Because if, obviously, you can get a situation where multiple people hit 5 points at the same time. And if that happens, all those people win the game. And you tend to find that people do like towards the end when they're on that 4 points thing, they could ask for alliances, they could let other people win the game with them, and they just go, nah, I'm winning this alone. Which happened in the game we played the other day there, when James could have easily asked for help from people and just went it alone and won. But I mean, the game's just it's like I say, you're constantly involved in it. Like, you're never sitting waiting for your turn, staring at the walls or anything like that. People are always asking for alliances. So you've got to decide if you want to throw some ships into this fight or not. So that's one of the things I love about this game. And I do love, those asymmetrical player powers. I love a game with that sort of stuff in it. So it's right up my street.
It is, definitely.
Well, one of the things you mentioned is when you're actually having to attack, that's drawn randomly as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a random draw.
So I mean that adds an element because you don't always know, you can't always plan for how you're going to attack and everything. You just have to go with it. Certain
alien races let you choose. I think there's a couple of them that let you do that.
Basically, there's a wild card in there as well.
Yeah, and there are wild cards in that Destiny deck that let you basically choose whoever you want. Pavel, what did you think of it?
I think of it as a test of character of players in a way. You play those races, but something of yourself comes out.
Oh yeah, totally.
You as a player, you Chris, you definitely have this subversive sort of dodgy type of person.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
I've never seen you play a straightforward let's kill stuff faction. It's not your kind
I've always got an agenda.
Yeah, exactly.
The same when we played Sheriff of Nottingham. That's when personalities really come through.
I was just sitting there wondering what's going on.
I mean, we saw it in the first round. This is a completely different game we're talking about now, but in the first round, the Sheriff of Nottingham we played the other day there, Euan was the Sheriff first round, and he was kind of timid Sheriff. He didn't really he wasn't aggressive with anybody. I was the Sheriff next, and the first thing I did was start shouting at Euan. Calling him a liar, calling him scum, Those kind of games are just they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. And I think Cosmic Encounter falls into that category as well. Yeah. You're right. There's definitely a personality thing comes out in Cosmic Encounter.
Well, it's definitely a thing of getting a lot of depth into what is seemingly a very lightweight game.
Yes.
Just out of cards, really. It's
and I think that's why it survived the years, because that's now what, 40 years old, this game sort of thing, and different sort of...
I'd be interested to see its original incarnation.
Yeah. I think Fantasy Flight actually have an original copy of the game on display in their little museum thing that they have.
We should go and have a look.
Yeah, well, it is in America.
Fantasy Flight have a museum?
I think they do, yeah. In their big sort of headquarters, I think they have some sort of place that you can walk through and look at all the different games that they've made and stuff like that, and they have an original copy of Cosmic Encounter now.
I think we need to do a podcast trip.
I think so. Are you paying for this?
Broadcasting live from...
No, that would
Tell
be
you what,
listeners, thank you.
You pay for a trip there and we'll buy you a graphics card. How does that sound?
Tempting. I just need to do the maths.
So that's 2 Kickstarters that we'll be starting up.
Yeah, that's send us to the Fantasy Flight headquarters
and help us buy a graphics card.
A graphics card, yes.
And we'll exchange those gifts. And give you nothing back.
Right, Cosmic Encounter gets a flat 10 out of 10 for me.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the best of them.
Yeah.
Any game that will have such simple rules and so much variety and just richness built on... just awesome.
Let's just stop the podcast and play it now. Oh, I can see you're tempted. Pavel's nodding his head.
Might just.
Euan, are you as big a fan of this as me?
I don't think you're obviously a very big fan.
I'm a very big fan. I
enjoy it. I always enjoy playing it. It's just a top game. I think I always look for something a wee bit more. You know me, I'm drawn to these
long drawn out
shopping simulators. So maybe it's not my kind of game always, but I always enjoy playing it. And the powers and the general backstabbery and just evilness of it are really a big draw.
Excellent.
Just get more players, obviously.
And I like-
3 of us would have
I
fun,
like the
but not
little
as much as
spaceships.
6, yeah?
I like stacking
yeah.
up the little spaceships.
Oh yeah, the little spaceships are stackable, which is nice. But you're right, Pavel. I mean, the game Aftfind plays much better with more people. I think the base game goes up to 5, and if you get expansions, you get more bits for 6 and 7 players, and then
I've never
possibly.
played it with
I
less.
don't think I'd bother playing it with like 7 or 8. I think that gets to the point of being silly.
yeah.
But I think 5 or 6 is
Five's
definitely.
great. I mean, anytime I played it's generally
It's the sweet
5.
spot, I
Yeah.
think, for this game, which is quite rare on a board game actually to say that more players is better, because you tend to find that the more players there are, the longer a game drags out. But I don't think that's really that true with Cosmic Encounter.
Keeps everybody involved.
Right, well, we move on then. Trying desperately to squeeze Pavel's RPG segment in. So first, we're going to talk about another board game.
Damn it.
Trying so hard.
But this is a game that you'll enjoy, Pavel, mainly because you won it.
I think I won it by maybe 1 grain of rice, but still,
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't expect it. I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I do enjoy RPGs, which we should talk about, but fair enough.
Yeah,
let's
so
do yours first.
let's talk about a board game. So, Spirits of the Rice Paddy is the board game we're going to talk about here. This is a pretty recent game, actually. I think this came out fairly recently. I think it was a Kickstarter originally. So I think the Kickstarter backers have had it for a while.
I saw it there on your shelf. I definitely remember seeing a Kickstarter video.
Yeah.
Somewhere or other, the American guy sitting there going through all the rules, explaining
Aye.
the
basics
background
of
of the
it,
game and the kind of the inspiration for it.
Right, so this is a game designed by Philip Dubarry and produced by Ape Games, which is an acronym for Advanced Primate Entertainment.
Excellent.
I don't think that's necessary, that acronym. They could just call it Ape.
Most people are going to see that and go ape.
So this is another farming simulator, basically.
Lovely farming sim.
In the sort of same vein as Agricola, kinda. It's got a similar feel to it. So you're rice farmers in Bali, I think it is, and yeah, so it's 2 to 4 players. And like I say, you're rice farmers, but you are aided by some spirits, as the game name suggests. Everybody starts with different stuff, so you might have a bunch of walls. You might start the game with some rice. You might start the game with an animal. You might start the game with some workers. And this is essentially a worker placement game. So there are a bunch of different actions you can take. There are a hell of a lot of workers in this game.
That's plenty. 20 per person, yeah?
20 per person, I think you start with. You start with 10, but you've got another 10 that you can hire.
That's still quite a lot for a worker placement.
It is. There's a lot of workers in
Takes
this
a lot
game.
of work getting into these rice paddies.
Yeah,
Just
it really
running the
does.
rice paddy.
I think maybe they're trying to simulate the fact that rice farming has got a lot of people involved in it. Yeah, labour intensive.
Intensive care.
So this is a worker placement game where you're basically trying to grow rice, really, and that's it. And the rice in this game it's your currency as well as your points and that kind of thing. So you are spending your rice at the end of the turn to buy more stuff, but the more rice you spend, the less points you might have at the end of the game. But you have to speculate to accumulate. It's one of these kind of games. And what you're doing with your workers is you're placing them next to different actions. So they can be building walls or removing weeds. You've got some farm animals that can do things like remove stones from your fields, because if there's stones in your field, you can't use it. You've and also there are oxen that do that. The other side of the animal tile has got ducks on it. It's ducks, I believe.
Indeed.
And they can remove bugs from your rice paddies, and they can fertilise your rice paddies, which is really good. It's got a sort of little card drafting thing in it as well. So these are the spirits cards, and they give you some sort of bonus every round. When you play them, there might be every round, or it might just be a one-off bonus. Help me out here, Pavel. What were the kind of bonuses that we got?
Well, the important thing to remember was that at the beginning of the game, those cards were fairly basic and
Yes, they were.
Didn't really affect the gameplay as much. Whereas in the second part of the game, you draw from a different deck, and suddenly those cards really affected the gameplay.
Yeah, but you got stuff like, some of the spirits cards. Like you could only do certain things in your field depending on the water. Like, the water is one of the most important things in this game, is that you had to like let a flow of water
the dynamic
through.
of the flow of
Yes.
water you find is how you plan your actions.
Yeah, so you start off
when
with
you
like...
plant, when you grow, when you harvest.
You can like plant a field as long as there's no water in it, but then you have to let water in to let the field grow, and then you have to drain it again in order to harvest it. And so the flow of the water was quite important in this, and sometimes you could screw your other players over because there's only a certain amount of water available every round.
And obviously, if you're a farmer, you really want to screw your neighbour.
Oh yeah, you really want to screw your neighbour over, like that's the whole thing. So any water that you didn't use goes on to the next player, and sometimes the player that went last wouldn't get any water at all. So
well, that really didn't happen much in our game.
It didn't really happen much, but I think we got quite lucky with the rain cards, though.
Yeah.
Certain actions that you can take in each paddy, you can only be done whether there's water in it or not water in it. So like I say, you could only plant if there wasn't water in it, and you could only remove bugs and stuff if there wasn't water in your paddy. So like one of the spirit cards that I played let me use my ducks in flooded fields rather than not flooded fields. And then I got other things like I could automatically just plant any empty paddies and stuff, which was ridiculously
at the end of the
powerful.
game, your paddies were just fully automated.
Yeah, they were fully automated by spirits because they were basically harvesting and planting themselves. It was absolutely crazy.
You somehow coaxed the spirits into doing all your work for you.
And I don't know how I lost, but I did.
I can tell you how, by one grain of rice.
But I mean, it's an interesting game. I feel like I think I could have explained that a little bit better, but like I say, the most important thing about this game is the flow of water, and when you do that, and you know, the water always has to flow down as well, so it has to get further away from your reservoir, so you couldn't like let water flow back up. So you had to really think about where your water was going in this game.
So by placing walls and gates,
yes.
You were enclosing paddies of certain sizes.
Yeah.
Depending on the size of the paddy, it would yield more rice during harvest.
And if you
fertilized it would
get even more.
You would treat it as a
one size bigger.
Pretty much, yes. Yeah. So this is what you would focus on, apart from just the water phases.
Yeah, I mean it's a kind of like I find the game pretty difficult to describe, but it
took us a while to figure it out.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, the whole game is really just about building paddies of certain sizes, using your workers to build paddies, and then letting the water flow in and out of it. I mean, that's really how the game felt to me. Was basically what it was all about.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was really interesting though. It was a bit of a brain burner.
It was. Once you've managed to fully harvest, grow. And harvest your first paddy, you sort of knew what you were doing.
Yeah, and it was getting to grips with that water flow was really the thing. It's like when the water flows in and flows back out again and stuff like that, and really thinking about how you were going to do that in an efficient manner sort of thing. That was like the sort of most brain-burnery part for me, because you're sitting there thinking, oh, right, okay, I can let this water flow out and then I can get rid of these bugs, but if I do that, maybe I should leave the bugs in and just harvest that field anyway, get less rice for it, but, you know, it helps my water flow if I do that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's got some interesting choices in it.
Absolutely.
And the spirit cards really make the game so much more interesting. So, by the end of the game, everybody's farm was completely different, basically, because of the different powers that they'd had in play. Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed it.
I'd play it again, definitely.
Aye, I mean, it was like it's got a sort of similar feel to Agricola in the way that it's just a farming thing where you're building walls and stuff like that. But
I think it was quite difficult describing those types of games.
It is.
Since we're in a very visual, abstract kind of setup, it's quite difficult to get across to someone without playing it. I'm interested in how it's as complicated a brain burner as you say, when the side of the box here indicates that it's supposed to be played by ducks.
That's true, it does actually. 2 to 4 ducks.
And ducks of ages 13 or above.
Well, I mean, I'm not a duck, so I can't really speak for how intelligent they are. Maybe they are actually. Maybe we're oppressing them, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, at first I was like, I saw this side and I was like, oh, do they think these ducks, or does that mean 4 players?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, they have actually put 2 to 4 ducks on the side.
Probably better than oxen.
I think ducks might have played the game better than we did.
We did alright in the end.
Right, so well, that's Spirits of the Rice Paddy then. I mean, let's say a difficult game to describe, but it's actually pretty fun. If you like a sort of thinky thing that isn't overly going to shut your brain down, then check that out. Yeah. Rating, Pawel, go for it.
Oof, I'm gonna give it 9 ducks out of 10 oxen.
9 ducks out of 10 oxen, yeah.
It's a hungry oxen.
I'd give it 8 out of 10, I think. 8 oxen out of 10 ducks. I mean, I like to put my oxen on top of my ducks, so
I think
I'm a sick man.
Putting all your eggs in one basket there.
Aye.
Gilding the lily.
Hog's eggs.
Hog's eggs, yeah.
Hog's eggs?
Oh, eating it.
Right. Well, I'm moving swiftly
That's fine.
on.
Let's move on, shall we?
Okay, right. Now, being very wary of the time, but we still want to give Pawel his chance to talk about RPGs.
Of course we do.
That was a warning there, Pawel.
I was sitting here all podcast waiting for this moment, Chris.
Right. So let's do this then. Let's do this. So, what is the name of this RPG?
Well, there's so many I would like to talk about, but let's just talk about the Genesis.
Let's talk about one RPG. The Genesis.
Just one. The Genesis is an RPG made in Germany, which means it's very efficient.
Yes.
Originally made in 2004 by a guy called Christian Gunther, and performing fairly well, but only in Germany. Then another dude 10 years later joins him, and they completely revamp and upgrade the whole concept.
Okay.
The second dude is called Marco Jujevic, and I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing it correctly. And he's basically an artist and got his own, I presume, company called Six More Vodka, which sounds rather Polish to me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely
like the sound of that.
a German company, I believe. And it's all about artistic design. You take this RPG book in your hand. There's 2 books, by the way. And it's a work of art.
Yeah.
This RPG has been designed so beautifully. I've actually never seen anything like it. And nowadays, RPGs tend to be really beautifully published. So
you're talking about the artwork in particular here?
Artwork in particular, I'm going to say, you'll see it all around the net. Marko Jujevic is a brilliant man when it comes to designing post-apocalyptic characters and drawing in general.
So this is a post-apocalyptic RPG?
Yes, the Genesis is a post-apocalyptic genre, but set 500 years in the future, as in after the actual apocalyptic event, rather than the usual 20 or 50 years, as you'll see in Mad Max or Fallout and stuff like that.
And what was this event?
That was a rain of asteroids that pretty much just leveled Europe as such, completely changed the shape of continents and stuff like this, and also brought with it some alien DNA. So 500 years later, when Earth is slowly re-emerging from the whatever you call it, what's the Ice Age thing called? Probably Ice Age.
Probably Ice Age.
There you go. It's not just humans and whatever flora and fauna we know, but also there is beings affected by the alien genome, which is called Primer in this game. So it's not even described as post-apocalyptic genre by the creators themselves. They call it primal punk, which I suppose is more related to steampunk and cyberpunk as such, because it's not really your Mad Max Road Warriors. It's not really your Fallout Brotherhood of Steel and stuff like this. It's more into just restarting civilization as such.
So it's pretty basic technology then.
And there's going to be tribes, there's going to be cults, plenty of fairly wicked religions. Basic technology mostly. You're not going to be running around as a character in this game with a machine gun. You'll be running around with a mace made out of junk.
Right, cool.
Things like this.
That sounds quite interesting.
But yeah, apart from that, I'm just going to say, lovely. I mean, nowadays we live in the times when you can pick up an RPG book and be fairly assured that there's going to be a soundtrack made to it as well. There's going to be a trailer made to it. This game has actually got a live action trailer with really high production values and things like this. So lovely work. But yeah, you in this game you have 13 cults that are the only actual factions that matter in an otherwise desolate world. But it's no longer human, whatever Earth.
So is it a pretty...
The remnants of
mutating
old Earth
and
is kind
humans-
of gone.
Yeah. You still have your Germans, your Poles, actually your Frenchmen and the like,
Right.
Because the game takes place in sort of northern Africa and southern Europe. That's the only
okay.
regions that are still not that have thawed enough. But they've changed enough to be quite different from what you'd expect. And in those cultures, you get 13 cults as such, which vary quite greatly.
Cool. That sounds like an interesting setting, actually.
Yeah.
Is it a bit grimdark?
It's fairly dark, yes. Not much humor in it. You get post-apocalyptic settings that are fairly humoristic, whereas this game is rather grim. Yeah.
So give us an idea.
Sacrifice and whatnot.
Like,
the trailer to this game is called "Sacrifice Everything."
Nice.
Because why would you want to sacrifice just a bit?
Great Creed song. That.
So give us an idea in this sort of setting. Like, if you were to like wander into, say, a town or something, what would you expect?
You would probably expect a bunch of savages that will just strip you of everything you have and possibly mate with you before skinning you or something like this, because there's going to be a plenty of human tribes that have really just degenerated down to the very basics.
There are places in Fife like that.
But not in Preston Pants anymore.
No.
You guys have evolved
a higher
well.
grade of Ned there now.
Alright, fair enough, yeah. No, you're going to have the most sort of... I'm going to say peace-loving and justice-loving factions in this game will probably want to kill you if you're in any way
a heathen.
Either a heathen or in any way has been exposed to natural elements or just don't follow their strict rules in whatever town. And then you get all sorts of other much more neurotic factions that will just keep to themselves and try to approach them and, mace to the head. There's not so much shooting in the game, just melee all the time.
Cool. So, like, the technical side of the RPG, like, so if you roll up a character, what are you actually doing there?
Depending on your cult, you'll be investigating these strange mutations that are pretty much taking over the world as such. There's going to be vast areas in the world of the Genesis devoid of humans as such, where all sorts of new plants or strange forests are growing. Not really animals anymore, but rather mutated beings live with...
Well, what I mean is, like, if you were actually create a character, do you have, like, skills and stats and all that kind of thing?
Sorry,
like,
every RPG will have your standard
side.
attributes and skills.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah. And they don't really differ that much from one another. Sorry if I'm to disappoint you. They've actually named their system. It's called Catharsis. But I've not seen that many differences between Catharsis and many other mechanical sides of RPGs.
Right.
They mostly refer to attributes, skills, and there you go.
So, have you actually played this system?
I've played it a little bit. But I don't really spend a lot of time on the mechanical side of RPGs.
I know. You like a good story. You're there for the narrative.
Indeed.
Tell us about your character.
I'm usually the guy, my master.
The
I can't even play this game because none of my group actually know it / own it. It's a fairly recent release. It's only been around for a couple of months.
All right.
And I'm just about to get an add-on to it very shortly.
Cool. Yeah. It sounds like an interesting setting, actually. We don't do much to the old tabletop RPGs, do we?
No.
The old tabletop RPGs.
Yeah, the old tabletop RPGs. Well, one thing I would ask is, do any members of the band Genesis turn up in this game?
Totally.
An
but
excellent question.
how many of them are there?
Hell, there's a few. There's
4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care to name them.
No.
Right, given that the Genesis takes place in year 2500 something.
Oh,
they
Phil
would
Collins
have
will still
to-
be around.
No. It's enough to get locked up in one of them underground safes if you're part of the recombination group, which is some sort of, mysterious organization responsible for at least some bits of what's happening in the world. They sort of start at the time the Genesis takes place. They sort of start re-emerging from their underground vaults, and they bring in with them obviously superior technology and knowledge and various secrets and schemes.
Yeah, I suppose we would get sort of are there cults that sort of fetishize old Earth kind of.
Oh god, yeah. There's one cult that's pretty much just made old internet their religion, and all the tribesmen just think of them as scary gods.
I'm sure that exists in real life. No, seriously. I'm pretty sure that there is some guy in Sweden just made some mad religion that was just basically based around the internet.
So plenty of strange religions in the Genesis. The poster child of the Genesis is a dude that sort of looks like a post-apocalyptic Prussian soldier, wearing a gas mask and a full catsuit and whatever spiky helmet with a huge Zweihander.
Yes!
There you go, Chris, that's for you.
Zweihander.
And he's actually the healer, because one of the more organized and recognizable cults from this game are called Spitalians.
Okay.
And they're just pretty much all trained doctors trying to heal the world, which usually just means purging the wicked.
Okay.
Plenty of other cults that purge as well.
So what is your favourite Genesis song?
I need to listen to that band a little bit, but only if it's not going to kill my brain. Is it going to kill my brain?
Certain parts of it, I suppose, are. I would say it's probably one thing that our Pathfinder game has on this is that we have at least one member of.
We do have one
ex-member of Genesis.
Ex-member of Genesis involved in the actual story.
Yeah.
Because that's how we roll, Pavel.
It's just how we do.
Well, yes. Mm-hmm. I'm beginning to notice that.
It's fine because Euan's character got very drunk in front of him and tried to do some tricks. Didn't work.
I think I mentally scarred him really as a young lad.
So you get drunk in real life and you get drunk in RPG.
Yeah, Andy's an elf.
So you see, RPG is supposed to be an escapism thing.
Well, I wasn't getting drunk that much at the time.
Look, if you can't...
And I thought,
I think the ultimate escapism is being drunk whilst playing an RPG in which your character is drunk. I think you've pretty well escaped from reality by that point.
That's some proper immersion.
Yeah,
Chris.
see,
that kind of kaleidoscope of colours.
You've been doing it wrong all these years, Pavel.
Yes, I'm beginning to notice that as well. Sober RPG.
Right, excellent. So I've
kept it short for you.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Well
Quite
done.
informative.
I'm getting better at this.
That was Phil Collins, the RPG. The Genesis, is it called? The Genesis.
That's the one.
Would you rate an RPG?
Absolutely. It's awesome.
Right, it's awesome out of
awesome.
Out of awesome, right.
See, the thing is, you don't want to do things in life that aren't awesome. That's just a waste of time. Do stuff, it means it's awesome.
It's a good philosophy, but you're going to annoy people with that.
I tend to do that.
So D-Genesis would be Snilloxif.
I'm pretty sure it would, you.
Just thinking about
what I could do is I could flip reverse it on the recording.
No, yeah.
And then we can get that.
Okay.
Snilloxif. There we go. Right. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap up the show there. We did play another board game, Euan, but let's save that for the next episode, eh? Shall we?
Yeah, I think we give ourselves something to talk about.
Yeah, we'll have at least one thing to talk about.
As we go.
One thing to talk about in the next episode.
Good.
So yeah, thanks for listening. We can be found on Facebook, the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast. You can email any comments and questions and stuff like that to firstplayertoken@gmail.com.
I've tried that and it actually works.
Yes, it does. We are on Twitter now, so that's at First Player Token, but that's one ST Player Token. Once Player Token. We are on SoundCloud, you can find us there, and I think that's it.
think that's probably enough, really.
The list is getting longer and longer every time, so...
Let's not add to it.
I've also set up a Twitch account for myself, so at some point, once the internet gets fixed in here, again, I'll start streaming some games, and my username on that is Unnecessary Chris, obviously. So yeah, that was a pretty good show, was it?
I think that was a good
one.
Was
it?
Shall we slap ourselves at the backs?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can.
Well done. Right. We will return in a couple of weeks' time. Pawel, you coming back?
Potentially, yes.
Potential for Pawel.
I've been able to find my way here quite
I was in a band called Potential for Pawel.
That sounds like a good name.
Anyway, thanks for listening, people. We'll see you in a fortnight. I have been Chris.
I have been Euan.
I'm still Pawel.
See you later.
Bye.
Snow Phil Collins.